Hey, are you a Cronenberg fan? You know that you have rights? The Constitution says you do. That was a very quick intro. I tried to make something last minute. But hello, welcome everyone. Today we are talking about why kink shaming is a good idea. That was Josh's idea. Everyone clap for Josh.
Clap.
We're talking about two Cronenberg films, two very talked about Cronenberg films, because, you know, for very good reason. Crash, 1996, and Crimes of the Future, 2021. So, let's just jump into Crash, or crash into Crash, and talk about this movie, which I'm guessing everyone loved.
I mean, I definitely did. I'm like a Crash apologist. Like, I'm sorry, I love this movie. Like,
Yeah, this is the first time I watched it. I rented it through YouTube. What the fuck? Yeah, no,
All right, so
it's weird.
I watched the Arrow version, and if you're familiar with the Arrow version, it's more explicit in, if you know what I mean.
see, I found out about it from Drawn Together.
They reference this movie on that show? I don't remember that.
Yeah, no, they do like an entire episode where like the Disney parody character just basically reenacts the plot of Crash. Except
my God.
I had not seen Crash, so I was just kind of like, wow, that's really weird and interesting.
Wow.
I was going to start with a bit where I confessed I accidentally watched the 2004 film of the same name instead, but I'm not going to do that. But Ruben, one thing I will say that I haven't been able to get off my mind for a few days. The other day, I think you were talking about like Cars or something, and now I'm hyper focused on the idea of a version of Crash with the cars from Cars, and it's really upsetting to me.
Well, that turns into a self-injury. Well, I'm guessing it would be just the same film, but just with cars, you know. It would still...
The occasional kerchoo.
Make more sense because at least they're sentient at that point, maybe? But then worse because, like, I don't know. I feel like there's a conflict between, you know, Larry the Cable Guy and any sort of, like, car-based eroticism.
Welcome to my TED Talk.
Are you implying that Larry the Cable Guy isn't the most attractive man on planet Earth?
What?
I mean, he is a himbo. I'll give him that. You know, he is a himbo or whatever. Like,
one thing I will say, just kind of like going in though, like tracking this film down was a little challenging for me. Like,
really,
and it kind of went with I don't know, like I couldn't find it like on any streaming service. Like I had to find it online. But
I rented it on YouTube. And, like, they've been selling the Blu-ray over here for, like, crazy.
The most popular film there.
Yeah, it is.
We can't keep it on the shelves. We got to get more copies of Crash. No, but, I mean, like, you know, I probably totally could have looked at YouTube, but, like, it kind of went with the subject matter of me trying to track down this film of people turned on by car accidents, that it was, like, difficult to actually find it. It just felt like kind of sketch all around. But no, I definitely felt like I was watching something I shouldn't have been watching. It definitely felt off, disturbing. You know, I'm still trying to process my exact thoughts on it, but I don't know. I think that's kind of the point.
This is one of those films you have to pause like 20 times because for some reason your parents walk into your room.
I
So-
watched both of the movies we're talking about today in the living room of my house.
That went over great.
Amber tapped out at the beginning of Crash and then watched a little bit of Crimes of the Future before she tapped out of that too.
You know, to be
Your dog walks in the room and does the thing from like old comedies where like the paws come in from the outside of the frame and just covers the eyes.
what the dog doing? It's watching Crash. Oh no.
Oh no!
God.
But yeah, James Spader is really good in this film. He crazy.
He
Yeah,
do
but,
do
like,
be a little crazy.
I mean, yeah, he's crazy, but he really sells you on the concept almost, where like you almost forget for a second that like this is something that is so, I don't know, like alienated from reality for a little bit because of, I don't know, it's just he's almost convincing, and then you're like, wait a second, no.
Wait a
Hold
second.
on a second. You didn't almost trick me into liking this. Yeah, no, I kind of agree with that. He's an interesting vehicle into that world. No weird pun intended there. But
Damn it.
no, like I mean, they do a good job of kind of like framing him as like a kind of like, you know, your everyday 90s guy, and very quickly it spirals out, but you know, it's really easy to get lost in that and just be like, okay, I can kind of see where he's coming from.
I
So
mean, definitely just like Coomer relationship goals, I would say.
True.
it was funny is that a day before I watched Crash, I was actually watching The Incredibles. So it's just funny watching Holly Hunter be in The Incredibles and then watching Crash, where he's also in this film.
I have a schedule of films I wanted to get through, and the day that I watched Crash, I looked on it and I saw that I'm supposed to watch Titan, and yeah, no, I put that back for another week.
There's kind of a theme going here.
I couldn't watch those two in the same day.
Yeah, Titan is very different though. I mean, there's similarities, but even Cronenberg said so, is that his film was very different than Titan. Titan is really good, by the way. I saw it, but it is different than Crash. Now I really want to talk about Titan, but I can't. So, Crash. Every time Howard Shore does a score for a Cronenberg film, he surprises me. Like, his Crimes of the Future score is different than expected. His Crash score is different, but it's still really good. It slaps. Especially in the opening titles. It's just this... I'm guessing it's like a guitar or something.
Yeah, no, it definitely really stood out to me too. It's just something very unique sounding.
Also very 90s.
A unique sound for quite the unique film.
Very unique. Very distinguished. 6 out of 10.
Oh wow, I mean, maybe my US folks can help me here, but it's officially rated NC-17. I didn't realize that.
Yeah, I
not
think
the
both of
version.
them.
Not the version I watched.
Not the Arrow version.
Oh God, Arrow. It reminded me of have you ever seen Caligula? It reminded me of the explicit cut of that movie. Just it's so much sex scenes.
So what you're saying is you watched the version of Crash they would show at like 2 p.m. on a Saturday on TBS.
I watched the version of Crash that made Amber think I was actually watching porn in the living room on the large
so the
TV.
Fair. That's fair.
Now I'm trying to think of a version of Crash that could air on ABC where like they show a car crash and then they just cut to two people holding hands.
The film would be 4 minutes long.
It's like a Kids Bob version of Crash. It's like that.
Jeez.
Kids Bob.
Um,
Imagine Kids Bob doing the entire David Cronenberg filmography.
What a fever dream.
I would pay. I would actually pay for that.
But here's the question:
I gotta
do they cut it, or do they put children in the films?
Please don't put kids in that movie.
And this is the episode that got the Kinocast put on a list.
Yay! Finally, we've been put on a list.
Everyone, we're on a list, yeah.
Take my vow to not listen to podcasts, basically. You know.
I just say, like, one scene that did really stick with me in this, because it has been, like, a little bit since I watched it initially, is I really enjoy, like, kind of that expositional scene with where you're, like, first introduced to Vaughn, and, like, they're all at that, like, crash reenactment.
Yeah.
For, like, James Dean in his car, and he's, like, going on about, like, we don't use old cages, blah, 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 like... I mean, just like with like James Spader's character, it like it gives like a good impression, like for the viewer, like okay, I'm for a moment here, I'm seeing this for what it is, and it doesn't seem as quite surreal as literally looking at the plot would make me feel. Yeah. Like it. There are key points in the movie where I like forgot. Oh, I'm watching a film about people that get sexually aroused by car accidents. Like it does a really good job of making you forget that at points.
It really does, actually. Yeah, I gotta agree with that. Is that I don't know. I wanted to say something, but I forgot it. No, but yeah. You do forget.
I also agree. I mean, I think it's just that the characters get so wrapped up into it that, like, regardless of, like, what they're actually falling in love with, it's, like, interesting to see just, I guess, like, the spiral, where, like, almost the actual thing doesn't matter as much as it's just very interesting to see somebody consumed by this, like, by a thing in this way.
Yeah.
I mean, I've seen like a number of really good takes on it, like in that what's the best way to articulate it? Like it kind of helps disconnect you from like eroticism to a level, because you're like, yeah, no one in the world would be like this. And like, I mean, with a lot of other like kinks and that sort of thing, you can't say the same. So, like, Cronenberg like chose something where like virtually no one could be on board with it, and that kind of helps you keep your distance from it and kind of look at it logically. Where if it was something more simple or more common, you wouldn't be able to.
Yeah.
It's a cautionary tale for falling down rabbit holes.
Correct.
I never want to go near cars again. Says the guy who watched Cars a few days later after Crash.
You're not doing a good job so far.
Yeah, no, I'm being terrible at it.
I mean, as long as you didn't have any baked beans, I'm sure it's fine.
Well,
this Crash enjoyer eating baked beans.
Beans. Yeah, this movie, I'm guessing it all left us all speechless. It's just, it's a movie.
You want to know what the first thing I wrote in my little after finishing Crash?
Well,
horny?
It was, at first I was like, car crashes is a joke, but guys, I don't think it's a joke anymore.
I saw when you sent me that.
I sent it to you because that was my first thought, and then I deleted it because, like, oh no, I should save that for the podcast.
He deleted it because he was like, "Oh, it wasn't a joke."
I didn't because I unironically developed
Unless
a trash kink.
form a new synapse.
Unless. No, guys.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm not into cars. It's just all a joke, please.
It's all a joke. It's all a meme. We have some fun here.
Ooh, let's have a minor fender bender. Just kidding. Unless.
A minor fender bender as a treat.
Can we just? Please crash into the side rails, please, just for once.
Just once. No, I mean, I kind of agree. Like, when I initially watched this, I watched it like after work in the evening, but I was speechless. I felt not compelled to watch anything else for the rest of that evening. I just kind of sat there and meditated on it for a bit. Yeah, I've only ever seen one other film even remotely in the same category that we're going to get to here in a bit, but I just didn't know what to do with it.
Yeah,
it's a film that'll stick with me forever because it had literally the most uncomfortable sex scene that I have ever seen in a film in my life. Because it went on. I don't know. I don't have anything to base it off of because I haven't seen the regular version because the one that was presented was just the Arrow one. But it went on forever, and the dialogue made me cringe so hard because.
Which one was it?
When there was a sex scene in which she was describing what she wanted the other dude to do to Vaughn.
Oh yeah.
And the line, "Have you seen what his anus looks like? Imagine what it looks like," and all that. I was like, "Oh, come on," because I know that somebody's good. I've thankfully only lived with one other person, which is my fiance. But I was like, watch her come into the room while I'm watching this scene in particular, because it was like 15 minutes long, and then just start questioning everything about our relationship based on what she's seen me watch.
I mean, it's a good. I hope you didn't say it's for a podcast because that's the true killer of a relationship. I'm going to do a podcast, honey, and then your relationship is dead.
Babe, I don't ask questions, please, but I need you to put this on, and it's an elaborate costume of a 1996 Toyota Corolla.
Oh God.
Wow.
God.
I mean, that's still better than Lightning McQueen cosplay.
Ka-chow.
Ka-chow. Final thoughts on Crash?
It was okay.
It was okie diddly dokey. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, I will say, like, kind of going into it and the kind of buzz I heard around it, I honestly was expecting it to be more shocking, if that's okay to say. But I mean, it's still
fuck.
Right. But no, I mean it's still, for what it was, really stuck with me, and there are a number of scenes I will not forget.
Yeah.
Feels unfair to compare it to this other film, but it is one of two films that I've seen that I've wondered how in the world it has a Criterion release, which the other one was Salo. I was like, why is this in the collection?
Okay, well, Salo was added because it's a meme. I'm sure of it.
Why haven't they added Jack and Jill yet?
Why isn't it possible?
I mean, I think that you can just add stuff to the I mean, there are a couple really random things in the Criterion collection. For example, Ghost World is in the Criterion collection.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
So you're telling me You're telling me if I took a video of my shelf over here with Criterion stuff and put a DVD copy of Jack and Jill in the middle of it, they would have to mass produce it?
I don't even fully know how it works.
If you want to hear
I'm gonna
more
go with
about
that.
Criterions, go check out the last week's episode about Criterion.
Woo!
Gotta show the podcast on the podcast, guys. It's important.
Hey, while you're listening, listen some more.
Listen some more. Stay some more. Please, stay with us. I guarantee you, it's a great time.
If Ruben had his camera on right now, you would see him doing this.
Oh,
Please
God.
please stick around. I'm very lonely. There it is.
Yeah. Scores for Crash? Because I would give it a 6.
I gave it a letter as far as Letterboxd. I gave it 3 out of 5.
I mean, to be fair, that's kind of a 6.
Look, I didn't know how much you'd be ranking these out of.
All right, let's.
I'm not here to do math, Ruben.
This isn't some kind of math episode.
Losers.
I'd probably. I don't plan on revisiting it anytime soon. I'm thinking probably about a 5 out of 10. It was interesting for what it was and like the novelty of it, but it's not something I'm like dying to rewatch or something that like really drew me in where I'm like I gotta show this to other people. So it's kind of like middle ground for me.
Yeah. I feel ultimately that the film doesn't leave you with much thought at the end. You know, so that's what makes it less appealing to go back to. It's not like I'm going to be in 10 years, I'm going to be like, oh, let's revisit Crash because, you know, I'm thinking about that film and what it said to me, but it didn't really say anything. Or what it did try to say just is like, yeah, it's kind of common knowledge. Just don't fuck cars.
Just don't do it.
Don't do it.
I mean, I'll probably say something similar with our next film, but like at the end of the day, when it comes to like Cronenberg stuff, I would rather revisit, say, like Videodrome or Scanners or The Fly, like any day rather than these two, because I don't know, like those 3 are like timeless for me. They have like infinite rewatchability, but
Yeah,
rather pop in Videodrome.
That brings us to Crimes of the Future, which is actually a film I would like to rewatch. So I saw this in cinemas. Oh. Sorry, could you repeat that again?
Oh, yeah, no, I became obsessed with it. Like, it brought me back into theaters for a little bit. Like, I've seen it every weekend since it came out.
Wow.
Nice. That's what we love to hear. Movies, guys. And Viggo Mortensen in a hat, or in a cloak.
I've got kind of a funny story with my theater experience with it. Like, one, like it was released nowhere around here, and I'm like in Washington D.C., so it's really weird to have a film that's like hard to track down. Kind of a running theme with today's movies. But I got to the theater, and I went by myself because God knows I could never talk anyone into seeing that with me, and if I did, they would never want to talk to me again. But right as I'm getting my ticket ripped at the front of the theater, I don't even know why, because it didn't come out until like 2 weeks after, they had a giant minion running around, like waving at people, and it just felt really weird to be in line for this super ridiculously horny film, and there's like a minion greeting me. And then I get into the theater, and it's also all single white dudes around the same age as me, all sitting very far apart.
5 feet apart because they're not gay.
Exactly, yes.
I saw this. I saw this with someone else.
Did they still talk to you?
Yeah, they do.
Just, I'll give it a few more weeks. Hey! You know that time we saw Crimes of the Future? I think that was kind of fucked up.
Hey, you think about that time we saw Crimes of the Future? I'd like not to.
I think about it constantly.
No, but I was surprised this film premiered in my country on June 2nd. Like, surprised they picked it up at all. Like, other movies get shafted too hard over here, and then we have Crimes of the Future, like, spot on June 2nd, just around the same time as the Americans. But hey, I'm happy. And it still is playing at my local cinema every night. Which is that's really good, actually, for Crimes of the Future. But yeah, I saw it. Small room. I did a double feature with El Buen Patron, which is a Spanish film. And, this. And, this movie played on a just too late. Because I got tired. And this is not a good film to get tired at.
It definitely has like a kind of late night vibe. I will say that much. Like I saw it in the middle of the day on like a Sunday, and I was like, this isn't the right setting for this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it was also hot as hell in the room.
Fine hot.
But yeah, Crimes of the Future, I think it's a film. Whenever I think about it, the more I think about it, the better it gets. The ultimate message that it's sending is that it's literally just that people are stubborn, that they don't embrace new ideas, and that they think new ideas are just dangerous as hell, which is true, because we all hate new stuff. I mean, I think that's one of the messages of the film. I think there's many more of it.
I couldn't find this film playing anywhere near me within a 25-mile radius. Mind you, I'm in the middle of Banjo Country, West Virginia, but it is the first film since, I think, Unfriended that I've been looking for and couldn't find anywhere. The closest place that was near me was an Alamo near Trevor.
Wait,
Told you we could have had a sleepover.
Unfriended? Are you seriously? Are you serious?
It wasn't playing anywhere. That was in Baltimore, and it wasn't playing anywhere in the vicinity of me. It was really weird because it was seemingly a mainstream horror film, right? But
Yeah.
nobody was carrying it.
What is wrong with your country?
It's a great question.
It's a different episode for the podcast.
To be fair, Unfriended, I mean, if you miss that film, you're not missing much.
It's really hard to try and see certain types of movies depending on where you're at. Because, like, I'm originally from Northern Virginia, and trying to see, like, any of the type of shit I'm into now was, like, a battle. Like, I would either have to, like, go into DC or go, like, 40 minutes out of my way to, like, a specific theater.
What part of Nova were you in?
Reston.
Oh, that's right out by me.
Nice.
Notice a long
Interestingly,
silence. That's because she's running.
I think this is my favorite Kristen Stewart performance that I've seen her in.
Definitely.
It's very odd because I was every time she was on the screen, I was like, wow, this is the same actress that I was shitting on for like 10 years in middle school because of Twilight.
Did she get good?
Yeah, they really played to her strengths, which I was, like, really happy about, to kind of see her actually be able to, do what she's good at.
Watch Spencer, guys. It's a really good film.
That's what I was gonna say. Like, I've heard great things about that too. I need to get around to it.
Yeah. But yeah, she's really good. It's the way she talks, her like awkwardness and excitedness about meeting the main character, Viggo Mortensen. I forgot his name. It's just so well portrayed. It's just It's kind of
The Lord of the Rings fan never missing an opportunity to plug a cameo in there.
No, but literally, Kristen Stewart looks like she wants to tell the fact that Viggo Mortensen broke his toe on the set, even though she's literally talking to Viggo Mortensen.
Did you know you broke your toe on the set a little? Yes, I did.
She's just like me for real.
Literally me. I since we're kind of like segueing to Vigo, I really didn't know what to make of his performance. It wasn't something I loved. It's not something I hated. And it was about 70% clearing your throat, but by the time the film ended, I did not know what to do with like his approach to that character. Did anyone else feel that way? Like
I
No, not really.
liked it a lot.
Interesting.
I thought
Yeah.
it was really interesting the way they approached sound in the film. It was very unnerving intentionally.
Yeah.
Right.
The way Viggo eats is just like, you just look at him, it's like, just eat like a more normal guy, but he can't.
Just please eat normal.
But also, it's funny you mentioned the throat clearing thing because I went to the first time I saw it. Neon had a thing where they were just having like Vigo and like Leah do like Q&As at the end of like random screenings.
It's
Okay.
just them
They were at
doing
first-
throat noises.
Yeah.
So those noises were actually based off of Cronenberg because apparently that's a thing that he does constantly, and Vigo just sort of like put that into Soul Tensor for whatever reason.
Interesting. Yeah, because it's like such a intense part of the film. It's weird. It kind of came out like that, where it's just like, hey, let's just try this.
Yeah, that's very interesting. Really, that's cool.
I did like watching him like in alleys and stuff in that very very Kingdom Heartsy costume. Just chatting up a detective with this black cloak with the hood up.
Yeah.
I think like one thing I understand like the movie in concept is very claustrophobic in the way they approached it, but I would have liked to see more world building. I mean, what's there is really solid, but just you don't see enough of that world. And there's like an occasional shot or two where like you see like outside and see like a little bit of a cityscape, and I don't know, like I just wanted to see like more of why is the world like this? Like what happened?
It's just because we got fucked up.
But I don't want to guess.
I thought it was deliberately ambiguous,
Like,
that
why-
the film was set like, in the future, but not telling you like how far or what happened.
Yeah, like
I
why
think-
would the film tell us that? Why would it? It's not a movie about building a world. It's a movie about Soul Tensor.
That's fair. But I like ambiguity to a degree, but when it becomes almost distracting to me how little I know. That's when I'm like, well, I could have used a little bit. Because there are a lot of points in the movie where I'm like just like zoned out trying to like understand this world and like why it's in the state it's in. So I don't know. I guess what I'm trying to say is I wish there was like just a pinch more. But
Yeah, I guess for me, I drew, or what I think are like cues from just random stuff about like the different characters and like, you know, what kind of environment would cause people to, you know, spontaneously develop, you know, new organs and tumors constantly. Not a clean and healthy one. Like, and I think that a lot of the world building is sort of like communicated in sort of smaller interactions. So like rather than, you know, telling us that like, you know, all right, they're living on a poisoned earth and things are, you know, being run to shit by corporations, they just kind of like have those interactions and then, you know, also have a guy in a chair that's supposed to make eating breakfast easier.
Yeah.
yeah, that makes sense.
Also, I just wanted to say, those mechanics are a pretty fun addition to the film. I thought they were really cool.
Oh yeah, love them.
Yeah. They're great. So I got a question for everyone in this film. Uh, what do you guys think happened at the ending of the film? Do you guys think Figo died? Do you think he lived? What do you guys think?
He lived. I think he lived.
I agree. Yeah, I think they leave things open ended, but I'm pretty sure it's a safe bet that he lived.
Yeah, because I think he's crying because he's like, oh my god, this organ is busting. I should not
Finally.
have said
Yeah.
that.
I thought it was.
That line was actually the last line in the script. That's why the world's the way it is. It's because bussin' became like nomenclature in that world.
These microplastics are bussin', no cap.
No cap.
Are they
F-
microplastics?
FR.
No, but there's like people that think Lea Seydoux poisoned him at the end because she had that thing with the mechanics, or at least it's kind of implied. But I don't think that's in character for her.
Oh, that would have went against a lot of what the movie established up to that point.
Yeah,
Yeah, why would she poison her canvas?
yeah. But
Ruben,
like I said,
you're a bad influence. Now all I want to do is get in car crashes and eat plastic.
listen, I said most people thought that. I'm not most people. I'm just built different.
If I was in this film, I simply wouldn't have let it happen to me.
Oh, you're pulling a Mark Wahlberg?
I simply would not have grown a new organ. It's just
Maybe
I'm
would not
built
eat
different.
microplastics.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely. I would have kept doing what Saul was doing and just removing the new organs as they develop instead of, deciding, let me eat this shit and see what happens.
Did look good though. It looked like a mix between Purple Flirt from Jimmy Neutron and a Reptar bar. You don't say you don't want to try it.
No, I got the It reminded me of the cricket bars in Snowpiercer.
Oh yeah.
That's what it immediately made me think of, because if I remember right, those were like purple too, or like some darker color. Yeah,
Brownish, I'm guessing.
right. Like I immediately was like, that's just the cricket bars from Snowpiercer. I have a wild question for you all. What's the last film you saw with like a child autopsy?
I don't think I've ever seen a film with a child autopsy.
Is that? I mean, well,
Season 1 with Will
Oh,
that wasn't a real child.
counts.
That was a fake body, right?
Yeah.
Still counts.
Does it?
Josh, do you think people are filled with stuffing?
I'm not. You don't need to know what I'm filled with.
I'm filled with rage, buddy.
But I'm assuming, like, because they were talking about like at the film festivals and everything, people were walking out. I'm assuming it probably had to do with that part.
That was definitely the only thing I thought that went too far, which is like weird to say about a Cronenberg movie. Like in general, I would actually consider it to be like of his tamest, but like that sequence itself was just very rough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then it's like such an important part to the plot too. Is like, wow.
I'd love to see a casting call or what that would look like for a Cronenberg movie, because it's probably just like, hey, do you got like weird shit? Because I got a movie with some weird shit.
Do you want to eat a bucket?
Look at this skeleton chair over here. That's the whole film. Are you about that? The other part that like really, I mean, I never like look away at movies. Like I'm totally okay with gore and like graphic stuff usually, but when he had the little zipper on his abdomen and Lea Seydoux starts like fingering it, that part made me wince for a second.
I'm always like leaving out a chuckle when I see gore in a film.
That just I don't know, something about that particular case of it. You know, me and my 20 other male friends sitting 6 feet apart, we all kind of looked away for a second.
When I saw it with my friends, one of them said, "Who need they Stamussy 8?" when that happened, and like now that's
Stamussy.
what I think. Now that's what I think every time I see it.
God. Oh man.
The iconic film that coined the phrase Stamussy.
The two horniest Cronenberg movies in his whole filmography that we're talking about today.
Right.
Let's see.
I'd put Videodrome right below these on the horny level.
Like
And
right
they're all
below?
pretty up there. Like the first half of The Fly is definitely a little like.
The Fly is such a great film.
Mm-hmm.
It's one of my favorites, actually.
I could understand that.
One thing I was really grateful for when I saw this, and like it's really bizarre because I have never noticed it before, but like the last 3 movies I saw in theaters have done this. They had the captionings up, and
Really?
yeah, like maybe I'm just like lucking out with going to screenings where they have the captions turned on, because some of the apps will like list that for certain showings. But I was so glad they were on for this movie, because there are several characters and just several situations where it is very hard to understand dialects. Specifically, the big one that comes to mind is that detective, which hilariously I believe his name was Cope.
Yeah, Detective Cope.
I
His
like
partner was cut from the movie. It was Detective Seeth.
I grown new organ detective Cope.
but for anyone listening that ever wants to watch this film, I would definitely recommend having the subtitles on, because they do help you hear better. But yeah, I don't think I could have survived it if I didn't have those. There were a lot of points where like the sound mix just seemed a little off. I was having flashbacks to Tenet again.
Well, at least this did blow your ears off.
That's fair. That's fair. But yeah, very grateful my showing had subs.
It looked like the most uncomfortable bed in the world, I'm not gonna lie.
It really does.
Everything in this was the most uncomfortable everything in the world.
Yeah, but I'm at that age where I'm like, oh man, my neck.
Yeah, I really loved, I guess, sort of the, like, comparison of, what Saul's daily routine was like compared to, God, his partner. I can't remember her name now, but,
Reese.
like, yeah. Like, the difference between, like, him having to eat, like, this awful slurry of stuff while she has, like, what seems to be pretty normal bacon and eggs, like, just fresh out the pan. Like, very trad, very, like, of this earth.
Yeah.
Human evolution for you.
Human evolution. God damn.
Yeah, it's funny you mention that, because like one thing that interests me is the little subcategory of speculative evolution, which unfortunately isn't captured on film as much as I would like it to be. This seemed like a step in the right direction, even though it's not what I would have imagined it would have been. But, is what it is, right?
You got this out of modern Hollywood, so be happy, I guess.
It's just an interesting scientific concept, and the Cronenberg seemed to go in the direction of like, oh, what if we had to eat, I don't know, our pollution, I guess?
What if we had to eat? Stop sentence.
What if we had to eat our pollution, our just what we currently consider to be garbage?
Yeah.
It sounds like a bad Black Mirror pitch. What if you had to eat that paper towel you just threw away?
No.
Yeah, but I kind of dig it.
No.
It's like we reap what we sow, you know? Like,
What if you had to eat your mom when she was a battery?
She was a battery.
Low key environmentalist.
All right. Should we give our verdicts for this film?
7 out of 10.
That would go for me too. 7 out of 10.
yeah, I gave it a 5 out of 5 on Letterboxd, but I only rate things 5 or 1. So I don't know if that really counts.
You only had
Why
two
would
options
you do
there.
that? Why?
It's called min-maxing?
You're either all in or all out. That's all there is.
Absolutely.
I'd probably, for the couple of criticisms I had for it, I would probably put it at like a 6.5 out of 10. I would say I'm more likely to revisit this than Crash,
Yeah,
but
same.
not by a high margin. Like I said, over either of these two films, I would watch Videodrome, Scanners, or Fly any day. Just because I don't know, I enjoy the subject matters of those a lot more. But
Yeah.
I mean, technically it's sound, and besides the couple of little gripes I had with it, I wouldn't say there's anything wrong with the film. Just wish I could have seen more of the world. Wish it was a little easier to understand at times, but it's solid. Like those
Alright.
little purple bars.
Yeah, I considered both to be like weirdly romantic almost. Like it was just very interesting dynamics between like the characters and the way they were involved with each other.
Oh, that did just make me think of one more thing. It's crazy that at the end of the day, after seeing this movie, the weird ear dude was one of the more tame things. Because they really hyped him up in the marketing and everything.
Yeah.
And it was like, wow, that was one of the more
Was it Doug Jones?
normal things. Was it?
I don't know.
No, I'm looking at the IMDb right now. That's the only thing he's done.
Wow.
Tastos Corralios, which
Huh.
that sounds like a Star Wars character.
Club Shido. Will Rowe.
His IMDb picture is literally him covered with the ears, so maybe he's like that.
He's just built different.
I don't want to be typecast as the ear guy. Okay.
You said it, sure. Alright, well, I'm guessing that was it. I'd say join us next week for the July 4th I think that's the recording day, but the uploading schedule is kind of messed up thanks to me, so I have no idea when this episode is going to drop. But next episode we're going to talk about Yojimbo. I think it was For a Few Dollars More or Fistful of Dollars. I get those two confused. And also Last Man Standing. And no, that's not the Tim Allen show. That's the Bruce Willis film. And, listen to the episode next week and find out why it's both these three films. Thank you all for listening. Thank you all for coming. And, if you liked it, subscribe it. Whatever. Patreon. Blah, blah, blah. La-di-da-di-da. I'm kind of tired. I just got off Stranger Things. So, yeah. Till next week.